Good evening,
Good
everyone.
evening, everyone. Good evening,
Good evening, everyone. Kindly indicate if you can all hear me clearly.
Yes, sir, I can hear you. Good evening.
All right, thank you very much. I can see that our mentees are joining the call, and I believe our mentors will also be on the call very soon. As we all know, the reason why we are here is for the week 2 of Gypsy Mentorship and Internship Program on Entertainment, Business, and Law. And my name is Hussein Mahadi. I'll be moderating today's session on the topic music, business, and law. For today, we have two mentors that will be joining us and will be taking us on those topics. Our mentors are Unique Oliver and Mr. Tope Salami. I can't see them on the call yet. So, okay, I can see Mr. Tope Salami. Good evening, Mr. Tope, and welcome to Gypsy Mentorship and Internship Program. We are super happy to have you here with us today. We await our second
Thank you so
mentor
much,
to be
guys.
joining us soon. All right, thank you very much, sir. So I'll be taking a few announcements and also reading the Gypsy mentors profile before we jump into the main business of today. Kindly hold on as I share my screen. Okay, I'll be telling us briefly, I'll be talking to us briefly about what Gypsy Mentorship and Internship Program is all about. And I'll also be telling us the objectives of Gypsy Mentorship and Internship Program. Gypsy Mentorship and Internship Program is a quarterly program for students and young professionals across Africa. Mentees are afforded the opportunity to access valuable advice, training, network, mentorship, internship, discussion forum, industry updates, and resource materials from experienced mentors. The program seeks to encourage continuous training, development, and evolution in Nigeria, Africa, and around the world. You can watch most of our videos on LinkedIn and Facebook, and as well as YouTube by searching for the word JIIPCC. Some of the objectives of the program is to provide easy access, um, guidance, training, and resource material for students and young professionals, to facilitate dialogue and network among experienced and less experienced practitioners and stakeholders, and to transform mentees into mentors and leaders for the next generation, and finally, to facilitate further mentorship, internship, scholarship, and job placement for the mentees. I'll be reading the mentors profile quickly. We're starting with Mr. Unique Oliver. Unique Oliver is a licensing professional with specialization that covers music licensing, music publishing, and music supervision for films. For films, okay, video games, TV commercial, and other placements platform. He currently works with Africa leading 360 entertainment company, Marvin Records, where he specializes in the licensing and publishing part of the business, which is focused on the active exploitation and monetization of intellectual property rights within a wide scope, not limited to master use, neighboring rights, performance rights, mechanical rights, sync rights, and covers. He is focused on helping clients develop strategies to effectively use African music in production within existing budget framework for films, podcasts, trailers, advertisements, TV series, animation, sports, reality TV, reality shows, etc. Thank you very much for joining us, Mr. Unique Oliver. Okay, he's not on the call yet. We hope to have him with us soon. Our second mentor for today is Mr. Tope Salami, and we already have him on the call. Tope Salami is a legal practitioner of international repute and an ECOWAS youth ambassador who has been in the core practice of intellectual property, technology, medical, media, entertainment law, um, general litigation, and corporate commercial transactions since being called to the Nigerian Bar Association in November 2014. He has advised numerous individual clients, brand, and corporate agencies across numerous countries in different continents on different aspects of the law, brokering multi-million dollar deals and forming relationship with top brand executives on a personal and working relationship. He is the founder of Whitestone Solicitors and Consultancy, a Lagos-based law firm which provide various types of legal service and consultancy to people in different spheres of law. The law firm stands solidly behind various creative brands as legal advisor with involvement in top-notch transactions involving different local and international parties. Mr. Tope has done a lot of work worthy of mention. He has worked with different multinational brands from Chocolate City, Empower, Sony, ATV, BMI, PRS, Songtrust, Sony Music, Medium Africa, to mention a few. He led the legal team to quash the purported murder charges against musician Barry J in Ghana. He led a team to successfully negotiate various deals involving numerous clients with Universal Music Group, Empower, Sony, SACEM. He has also been recognized by Medium, the world's largest gathering of creative and creative practitioners, and was invited to speak at the Medium conference. He has over the years had numerous speaking engagements within and outside his country of residence, from speaking at the entrepreneurship, entrepreneur entertainment conference in Accra, Ghana, to being invited to speak at the Medium conference at Paris, France. And more recently, at the Intellectual Property Law Conference at the Ekiti State University, Ekiti, Nigeria, etc. Over the past years, Mr. Tope has been drawn to the Nigerian creative space and has dedicated the last year to having a better creative space in Nigeria in terms of structure, framework, and legislation. Tope is a passionate engager in the field of technology and intellectual property, and to this end, he graced various stages with other top world practitioners to share his experience within and beyond Africa. Though thoughts and knowledge in this developing field, particularly in Nigeria, further to his passion towards his having a sane creative industry, he founded the Nigerian creative firm named the Creative Yard, which caters for needs to different creatives as he holds the firm's belief in the quote, talent is not sufficient to build a proper creative brand. Creative Yard's sole purpose is to nurture and guide creatives for sustainable growth and development in the chosen fields. He currently stands behind heavyweights in the creative space such as DJ Neptunes, Blaze Beats, and GX, DYDX, etc. Recently launched the legacy practice of his law firm, which with legends like the band and late Fuji originator, barrister, the late Benga Adeboye, etc. amongst his legacy practice clientele. Sorry for that very lengthy profile. Thank you very much for joining us today, Mr. Tope Salami. We are so happy to have our mentors with us today. I can see Mr. Oliver is also on the call. Thank you very much for joining us, Mr. Oliver. We'll be
Yeah,
moving
you're
on
welcome,
to
guys.
topic for today. As we all know, the topic is mainly on music, business, and law. So we'll be taking our mentor's presentation. I will be starting with Mr. Unique Oliver to give us an introduction to the topic.
Hi everyone. How are you
Hello.
saying? Hi, Mr. Tope. Mr.
Hi.
Tope is my boss, so
You ran away. You
Mr. Tope is my boss.
ran away. Ran away. You ran away. Well, we get
Close
the
that deal.
my licensing.
We're going to close that.
You didn't come back. You didn't come back.
Don't worry, we'll close that deal.
Don't
Don't worry, we'll close that deal. We have another conversation.
Olivia is in the house. Is one of those moving the creative those where we did very proud of. I celebrate you, brother.
Like I said, Mr. Tope is my boss. And yeah, so today we're talking about music business and the law. Yeah, I'm trying to open up. Yeah, so I do have a slide. I was able to give a final confirmation to be around this afternoon. So whatever I'll be discussing about is just basically based on the questions I've received from everyone, and I'll try as much as possible to just touch key elements in the licensing business. So like I said, Mr. Topper is my boss, so he's going to talk more on the legal aspects, while I'll just touch the business aspects in relation to what the structure really looks like now, and how creative I've been able to earn from music business. So kindly confirm you can hear me clearly.
Yes, sir, we can hear you loud
It's
and clear.
perfect.
We can hear you, sir.
So that means this is 6:12, so I have 8 minutes left. So when we talk about music licensing, there are key areas that we always look at: the typical mechanical and mechanical license and streaming royalties. So I'll try as much as possible to break it down. So, like you all know already, music is divided into two different angles: the master side and the publishing side of the business. So on the publishing side of the business, we have what we call the mechanical license. So which is the license the songwriter or the composer, in this sense, who we used to call the producer, grant to the artist or the label to reproduce that work in exchange for royalties. So we call it the mechanical royalties. Yeah, I think I saw one of representation, and it was more focused on coson, this, coson that. So I just want to clarify that when it comes to mechanical royalties, you do not need to be affiliated with coson to be able to access it. And when it comes to mechanical royalties as well, you do not need to be affiliated with just one mechanical rights society. Is a question of understanding how the ecosystem really operates and understanding exploitation territory for the client or the artist involved. At the same time, also understanding what law exists in this territory. For example, I'm going to use the neighboring right as a very, very important example. Due to the fact that the United States did not sign a particular convention or treaty, I think that should be the Berne Convention. It's a particular convention that they did not sign. They were not part of the convention, so they did not sign the treaty. So as a result of that, the United States music industry don't pay neighboring rights. Instead, it's being called something interactive music rights, interactive. Yeah, the likes of Pandora and the like. So they call it digital interactive rights. So when you look at it from the angle of sound exchange, the sound exchange collect for that purpose. So the typical artist in his mind is like, oh, I'm registered with sound exchange. I'll be collecting mechanical royalties. Only to discover that he's not entitled to mechanical royalties based on that, not mechanical royalties, sorry, neighboring rights royalties based on that structure. So key things that is always advisable for business executive, which you guys will be very soon, is to always understand things like what is a territory, what a territory law looks like in terms of this particular kind of royalties that I want to be able to obtain. For example, for Africa now, there are some structures that when it comes to receiving royalties, there's always tilted towards South Africa. So what happens? How does it affect the Nigerian business? So there are things like withholding tax. What is the law on withholding tax in Nigeria? as well as other countries for reciprocal relationships. So those are the key things that I was able to pick up from the presentation that is very, very important that we don't miss out. So I was talking about mechanical royalties. So it's always advisable to either affiliate with the society directly or affiliate with a publisher. Why is a publisher better in this sense? A publisher understands the industry landscape, understand it based on territory as well. I can tell you that you are having more plays from Europe. We are going to make sure that we affiliate with, let's say, European collecting society. But because of SYZ, it's not going to be advisable for us to work with the European collecting society. So because of that, we are going to work with another society, maybe in Asia, to be able to navigate where the royalties is coming from and be able to leverage to make sure you get it. Those are the kind of things that when it comes to music business, you need to understand. You need to understand your territory. So I explained mechanical royalties and sync. Yeah, one of the things that I also pointed out in the presentation, I don't know, is it fine I explain more from the presentation angle? Or is there a later time for this?
There's a little time for taking the questions, but you can comment on the presentation while you are also talking.
Okay. So for the synchronization aspect simply talks about music being in synchronization with visuals. So they are working simultaneously. So for a filmmaker or for an advertiser to make use of music for that purpose, they have to obtain a synchronization license and a master use license for that purpose. Yeah, so in the deck, I saw something like, trying to remember, sync royalties. Yeah, so there's really nothing like sync royalties. So that is why when we are having industry conversation in the synchronization space, you hear things like needle drop. So needle drop is more or less, I wish I can have a picture of a vinyl or something. I'll just use as a representation. So the whole idea of needle drop is just on one drop, you make that payment, you are good to go. There is nothing else that the filmmaker or the advertiser is to pay you. So in the aspect whereby there are things like back-end royalties, it comes from the performance angle. So you see performance royalties being paid, not sync royalties. So I wanted to clarify that. In terms of licensing and royalties as well, we also have what we call print royalties. If you've noticed recently, yes, Spotify now have the lyrics option. Same thing as Apple Music. Apple Music, I've always had that. On Instagram, you can easily put lyrics. Like there's an option for you to like see the lyrics from a particular song and play it in your stories. So this happened based on a licensing relationship with what we call Music Match. That's the name of the company. So Music Match, for every time a lyric is being displayed, the creators are entitled to royalties. So what Music Match does is this: they pay the royalties to the publisher, and they can also pay to the affiliated society who would remit to the composer. So that is it on that print license and royalties. On the master side, I already explained how neighboring rights works. So neighboring rights is just like the sister to performance rights. So when you look at it from the angle of, a DJ is actually performing a song and is already recorded, the DJ should be entitled to like royalties as a performer. So when that conversation is happening, it is always within, when that conversation is happening, it's always within a neighboring rights conversation. At the same time, neighboring rights is always applicable to just the label, featured artist, and the producer. So when I say label, the artist as well. So for a producer to be able to like be entitled to neighboring rights, it's what we call a letter of direction. So he needs to obtain a letter of direction that is going to submit to the societies affiliated with, or whosoever is representing him, a rights agency. I don't want to use the word publisher because on the master side, but the way the industry has moved, we have publishers also acting as a representative for the neighboring rights side of business. And there's also something they call declaration of works as well, which varies based on territory. So in terms of declaration of works, for example, this territory may like, no, we don't pay anything neighboring rights royalties. We are just going to do only performance and go straight to the publisher. So what the publisher does, or what the CMO does in any of the scenarios is this: they just, since they don't pay, let's split it into two. Or let's make sure that we focus more on the people that are in the territory as opposed to people outside the territory. So this kind of different practice arrangement across the world tends to affect the remittance of royalties to artists and producer when it comes to neighboring rights. So it can be very, very complicated. So it's always advisable to like study the landscape, because now we've moved from traditional royalties to digital royalties. So meaning that it's not a question of, I'm in Nigeria, I need to go to Coson office in Ikeja to fight them to pay my royalties. You do not have to be affiliated with Coson. So that's where when you go on, let's say Twitter or someone, they're having publishing conversation, people keep on mentioning, oh, Coson is not doing anything. I'm like, if Coson start doing something, we may not even benefit the way we are supposed to benefit from it, because knowledge gap is also an issue. That is why mentorship session like this help us to just break down these things in terms of what you read in the textbook and what is obtainable in the practical sense of things. So let me see if there's another question that I can just brush through. I think I have 1 more minute. Yeah. How many minutes do I have now?
You still have like 4 minutes more.
So 4 minutes more.
Yes.
Okay. Nigeria position when artists try to retain. Okay, I think it's what we call the reversal clause when it comes to like getting your catalog or your masters back to yourself. So I think that would be Mr. Topper will talk more on that. So I don't want to jump on that. So let me see if there's any other important question I need to touch. So music licensing agreements with streaming platform. So the way the industry is structured when it comes to music licensing going to the streaming platform, we have what we call the distributors, we have what we call the aggregators. These are the people that work with the streaming platform. So an artist is not just going to go directly to Apple Music and say, put these 10 songs on Apple Music or put these songs on Spotify. They have to go through who we call a distributor. So a distributor handles everything, receive the metadata, sending the songs to the streaming platforms. And once the streaming platform can confirm that there are streams, they remit payment to the distributor, and the distributor remits back to the artist or the label, as the case may be. So I'm trying to see if there's another thing I should touch. So when it comes to UGC, yeah, it's been a very, very big problem. And the good thing is most of the collecting societies have been engaging in what we call blanket license deals to be able to cover these. So in a situation, the likes of TikTok can just pay a one-off deal to a collecting society within that territory. So remember, I told you that this is a territory game. The music business is a territory game. If you don't know what's happening in your territory and outside the territory, you would lose out. So TikTok can reach a deal with a collecting society in Africa, for example, negotiate how much will be paid yearly or how much will pay for the usage of music on their platform for the past few years. And based on that, they pay a kind of one-off fee every year based on that arrangement. So everyone in Africa, other collecting societies in Africa, get to benefit and receive their payment. They've done for Africa, they've done for Australia, and trust me, they've done for Europe and America. You cannot really escape that. So I think that's how UGC works. So also for UGC, the streaming platform also find a way to pay directly. So that's Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram. Twitter don't pay. Very bad thing. If you see Elon Musk anywhere, please speak to him. They don't pay for user-generated content. So what TikTok does is that they pay to their distributor. So I don't know how that relationship works, but they pay to the distributor and the distributor pays to the artist. So when people tell you that, oh, they don't receive anything for UGC, I'm like, no, they do. They do. They also receive money on the master side. While on the publisher side, which I already explained, it goes through the CMO or the publisher, depending on the deal and the platform involved. So with the way technology is coming up, a lot of things are really changing. Now we have companies that handle what we call user-generated content monitoring, meaning that right holders can monitor the use of their content for user-generated purposes and figure out a way to be able to earn from it. So we have a lot of platforms that are into UGC. We have there's a platform called Fuga Neighboring Rights. Fuga Neighboring Rights, yeah, it's Fuga or Downtown. I think Downtown Neighboring Rights company There is Source Audio. Yeah, but a lot of platforms that is doing it. So tech is really making a lot of work kind of easier for us in terms of remittance, or like before, whereby the question is, Coastal is not doing anything, MCSN is not doing anything, and people keep on making noise that, oh, if they cannot do anything, they cannot earn money. We've moved on because the music industry is privately driven, unlike many other industries, privately driven. So there is no really, the laws are not really kind of restricting a lot of things in terms of, oh, you must collect your royalties in COSON or from COSON and leave every other place. So just for you to figure out what the law says, what is the tax man saying as well, what is the best practices, where are my works being used, because that's what we call the exploitation sources. If you don't know where your works are being used, you cannot just go in and say, I'm not getting paid my royalties. The same way we have a lot of people signed up with, let's say a BMI, for example. You can have 10,000 artists in Nigeria sign up with BMI, and it will just be like 10% that's actually receiving revenue from BMI. So things like this are what is how you balance the music business and the law. So once you figure out what is working, you just have to confirm that, oh, this is the position of the law. How does it restrict my activities, and what can I do to make sure that my client, my friend, or me as a creative, I'm not losing out on money I'm supposed to receive. So I hope this was really helpful.
Thank you very much, Mr. Unique Oliver, for that very insightful talk and introduction to the topic from the business aspect of music business and law. We'll be awaiting our other mentor, Mr. Tope's own introduction and overview on the topic from the law aspect. But before we call on Mr. Tope, I will be quickly encourage everyone to put on their videos. Because of time, I don't want to take pictures at the end of the program where maybe the weather would already be dark. So I encourage everyone to put on their videos while we try and take a quick screenshot. And these screenshots are used while we are posting some of the things we learned from the session on our social media platforms. So I encourage everyone to look at the camera, don't bone your face, smile for the camera. And thank you very much as you do so. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Okay, while you are doing so, I will just be giving a signal. 3, 2, 1, go. Happy birthday to you. You guys are not talking. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, happy birthday, happy birthday to you. May the good Lord, may the good Lord, may the good Lord. All right, that's a special happy birthday song from JIIPCC mentees to our special mentor, Mr. Unique Oliver, on his birthday today. Mr. Unique, kindly do well to paste the location on the chat box so that some of us that are close to you can track you and have a good time today. Thank you very much. I'll be giving the floor to Mr.
Unique is not good. Unique is not good. How can we be getting to know on this platform that today is your birthday? We will have money one day. Don't worry. We will have money one day. Don't forget me in your kingdom. Okay. I'm back to the country. I'm back to the country. Paste the address. I will locate you this night. Paste the address of the birthday. I'm back actually. Happy birthday to you, brother. Long life and prosperity. I'm very thoughtful of you guys. Very thoughtful of you guys. Yeah, so my name is Tokwe Salami. I'll be taking music business and law. I'll try as much as possible not to bore everyone here. So I'm going to be very short. And I think while talking, I'll be answering those questions. Or if you want me to answer those questions separately, I'll gladly do that. So we don't need to go into the definition of music. We don't need to go into the definition of law, and we don't need to go into the definition of business. But then I'll just do a bit of overview. Um, you and I, we are very sure of, or we understand the way the industry works, and the way it was like 10 years back or maybe 5 years back. And that's something we can lay claim to, and that is daily development of every aspect of the creative industry, particularly the music sector. Sorry, I'm on a trip back to Lagos, so that's why. I mean, we really cannot deny the fact that Nigeria as a country, we are still trying to, match up with countries like South Africa, countries like maybe United States of America, regardless of the fact that we have the biggest talent in Nigeria, we cannot compare ourselves to South Africa. Things are more structured in South Africa, and that is why some of us are here to make sure things are properly structured. And we, so I'm going to speak from two angles. I'm going to speak from an entertainment lawyer angle, and I'm also going to speak from a businessman angle. Now, as an entertainment lawyer, if you want to build your business with proper sustainability, there are certain things you need to do. The first one is keep it professional. The second one is detach your emotions. And the third one is that make sure that you document things. Now, we have there is a difference between someone who is doing music and someone who is doing music business. And I will use two examples right now. Look at Burna Boy. What Burna Boy is basically doing is music business, and that is why you probably see him on tour almost every time. Whereas we might have someone here in Nigeria, he or she is just passionate about music, and he or she might not be thinking of the business side or the business angle of it. Now, two things, yeah, is either the creative things of the business side of it, or the team of the creative think of the business part of it. Either ways, if both are negative, then the creative don't enter wahala with that. Now, we need to consider the ecosystem of music business in Nigeria. And when we say ecosystem, we are talking of things that are making the music sector in Nigeria, things that are making it, survive, things that are adding up 1 plus 1, 2. We can't deny that the world recognizes the prowess of Nigerians, particularly when it comes to music. If we are not good in anything, everyone knows that Afrobeat to leave Nigeria. We are so good in that part. And for me, yeah, it's a good PR strategy for a country like Nigeria. The question is, have we been making use of this very well? The answer is no. Now, we have different components, and I'm going to start from the songwriter to the music producer, the instrumentalist, to the distributors, to, to publishers, to platforms that every human component in the ecosystem uses. And of course, the end users, people that will listen to it, we are also part of the ecosystem. I'm using the word ecosystem because one cannot survive without the other. I do tell my producers, I usually tell them, I don't have any business in any music that is on your hard drive. A music can only be music. People can only know you've made something when you release it. And that is why when it comes to clearance, I might not be difficult sometimes. Why? You can have the best music in your hard drive and it won't go out. And are you going to suffer as a producer? Because at the end of the day, the the the, the rate at which you drop music would also determine the rate at which people, recognizes you. It also determine it will also determine your presence. Imagine you are hearing Uber, Uber, Uber almost every week. It's not the music now. It is, oh, who be this crazy guy where they get Uber? Questions will start coming up. Other creatives will be trying to say, Uber. the knack beat for this song, do this for that one. I mean, that is one thing about making sure that you tap into the components of the ecosystem very well. Guess what? Consumers used to be the last, the last user in the music ecosystem. Things are changing now. Things are moving from the physical, or things are moving from the organic consumers to inorganic consumers. And when I say unorganic or inorganic consumers, what we are trying to say is that they are digital users making use of your music, and at the end of the day, you get royalties paid for it. I hope we get there one day in Nigeria. Then relationship between law and every form of creation, meaning relationship between law and music, relationship between law and everything creative industry. The relationship is very simple. Relationship is we, we can make use of, let's say, it's more of a symbiotic kind of relationship. The law with regards to music will not be effective except there is music. Music too will not make sense. The business of music, the operation of music would not also make sense if the provisions of the law are not well provided and captured. That is the relationship. They are they are two they are two twins. I mean conjoined twin. Yeah, it's more of a symbiotic kind of relationship. You give me, I give you. You gain from me, I gain from you. But the thing is that we need each other to grow. So let us go hand in hand. I mean, our legends, those who are late of blessed memories and those who are alive, the mistake they made while growing up was they only did music. They did not do music business. And that is why you probably see some of our artists, yeah. I mean, I felt so bad the other time Idris Abdul Karim was, doing public fund. I'm like, no, Idris at the point had the biggest songs in Africa. In countries like US, UK, Canada, some Latin American countries, you don't even need two songs. Just one song. We don't blow. Just one song is enough for you. The structure has been, the system has been designed in such a way that just one song, you might be okay if you do the right thing. And of course, if you don't go into, and don't let me call it out, yeah. So, why do we even need law? People will say, why do we need law? I mean, we need law for so many things. The first one is to regulate and guide the ecosystem. And of course, the second one will now be to cure, where you've probably not made use of the law and there are lacuna or there are breaches. The law, it is still the same law that we use to cure and restore back to status quo, restore back to the way things should actually be. Of course, we have advantages of making sure that we imbibe law into our music business. One of the advantages would be structure. When a business that is legally structured would definitely have good profit structure. And aside from profit structure, the framework alone is something, meaning that one person is probably not doing the works of maybe five persons, and at the end of the day, it tells on productivity. And of course, we still have disadvantages of even involving law as well, depending on the jurisdiction. For Nigeria now, I mean, one of the disadvantages would be the possible smell of limitation. Another disadvantage would be that failure to adequately update or upgrade the provision of our law. Imagine the new Copyright Act. The new Copyright Act, I was part of the people that did the first draft. The first draft was probably done like 4 years ago. And guess what? They just passed it not too long into law. Let me ask a question about, I mean, it's a form of rhetorical question anyways. Something we did 4 years ago, don't you think or don't you feel that before even enacting it or making it into law, don't you feel that they were meant to call some of us again to say, well, some things must have changed this year? What are those things that have changed this year? They didn't do that. And now they just passed it. Guess what? They have still they've taken us some steps backward again. Because things are changing 4 years ago. Yes, digital, yeah, we had digital monetization, but digital monetization has even right now and tomorrow. I mean, 4 years ago, I'm not sure Instagram was even paying. I'm not sure. Now they are paying. This new copyright act has it even taken care of? Has it taken care of taxation? Why must I want to collect my royalties from Spotify in the US? And they're already deducting the tax in the US. And yeah, Nigeria, you people too will come to say you want to deduct tax. At the end of the day, I mean, what will be left for the creative? One problem we have, and I think if we can all join hands to make it work, is we have data problem in Africa, not just in Nigeria alone. When I say data problem, it's not as if we don't have data, but how far, how much can we trust this particular data we are talking about? We'll get there one day. I don't know if questions can be asked, or if you want me to go through the questions and just answer those questions one after the other. Because I'm in a train and I know the train will get to its final bus stop very soon. But that does not mean I can still. That does not mean I won't talk. I can still talk.
All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Tope, for that very insightful overview of the topic. We are supposed to take our mentee's presentation for 7 minutes, 7 to 10 minutes. So, if you
Okay,
can
that's
quickly
fine.
do that, then we'll move on to the question and answer immediately.
Very well. That's
So,
fine.
I'm hoping that, and I'm sure that our mentee is supposed to make the presentation is ready, and your PowerPoints are opened down, so you can just unmute yourself,
How
share
many
your screen.
how many mentees are we talking about?
And 10 minutes. They just have 10 minutes to quickly make their presentation.
No, how many mentees are we looking at? No,
Just
don't
one,
worry. Me, I will give you my
just
time.
one,
Just one.
just one mentee. Yeah.
Okay, you guys forwarded a particular slide to me. Yeah, was that done
Yes.
by one person or the
No,
names?
it was done by
Them
everyone in the group. Yes, all the group members.
give it to you, sir. I give it to you guys. I give it to you guys. I mean, it's way reasonable. It's a well researched stuff presentation. Well done, guys. So the presentation.
All right. Our presenter. You can start now.
Right, good evening, everybody. Can you guys hear me clearly?
Good evening. Yes, we can
Can you
hear
hear me
you.
clearly? All right, good
Yes.
evening. Thank you very much. My name is Philip Wontu, and I'm presenting on behalf of my group. So I will share my screen right now so that I could use it to guide my presentation. So, can you guys see my screen?
Yes, we can see your screen.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes,
So
we can see it. We can see it.
okay, I'll be very quick. So, discussion for this week, or our research for this week was focused on the topic assigned for this week, which is music business and law. So basically, music business is actually a very lucrative business in Nigeria and the world at large. And according to recent estimation, the industry is worth over $46 billion globally and employs plethora of professionals worldwide. So music business is the commercial enterprise by which creative works by artists are legally exploited for the purpose of making profits. So the creative music of artists They're not just singing for the purpose of entertainment alone, but they're singing for the purpose of using the entertainment to amass reasonable financial interest to themselves and also to the record label they are assigned or they are signed under. So just like any other business ventures, um, there are several contracts and there are several elements that makes or that guides the music business, and we'll discuss about these several elements quickly. So we're talking about ownership. So under ownership, basically the author of a musical work is the first owner of the copyright. So the author is the person who creates the musical work. So Shadi Poppy, ex-convict, the song is trending. So Shadi Poppy is the author of ex-convict, is the author of Elon Musk. But where the musical work is made by the author in course of his employment, the proprietor shall be the author in the absence of necessary agreement. So there are some instances wherein um, after the music has been produced by the artist, if it's under an employment, possibly the record label, if the contract does not specifically or clearly stipulate things, and the record label might be the author, might be the owner of that seed musical release by that consigned artist. So under the Nigerian Copyright Act, an author is presumed to be a creator of a work, and by virtue of which ownership of the copyright is invested in him, while the owner of the copyright is someone who enjoys the benefit of the copyrighted work. But basically, most of the author of the work is the owner of the work, save for some exceptions, wherein the ownership of that seed work becomes divested from the seed, what's it called, the seed author. So in such situations, there are several situations wherein ownership of a musical work can be divested from the author of that work. So such situations include where the author was commissioned to do the work. So for instance, the video paid me 5 million naira to write a song for him. Like you heard that, I think that was one of the video songs. They said Techno wrote it for him. Yeah. So if that is true, Techno he's the author of the work, but he's not really the owner of the work because he was commissioned. He was commissioned to create that work for the video. So the copyright in the work now has been divested from Techno and is now invested in the video. So that's one of the rules wherein the copyright in a work the author of the work can use the copyright in his work. So also the act defines although in some situations they can actually align and create agreements that they should be co-owners of that seed work and enjoy interest from it accordingly. Also, where the artist is under a company known as a record label. In some situations, um, if the contract does not clearly stipulate things, the record label is acting as the employer of the artist might, in a situation where there's no apparent clarification in the contract, the record label might assume ownership. They might become the owner of that, what's it called, of the musical release by the artist. Say there is clear specification in the contract that says that is my song, so the song belongs to me. So moving from ownership, talk about financing quickly. So financing is very key from our research. It's very key in the music business and it's a very fundamental element because it's used for the purpose of production, distribution, tours, among other expenses concerned in the music business. So the music business and finance, also known as musical finance, is a monetary aspect of the music industry, which includes management, investment, brand control within the music business. So it involves various aspects from creation down to monetization of the musical brand and record labels. So when talking about musical financing, from our research, discovered that is in two dichotomies. So it's in two dichotomies, which involves the money that the artists or the sponsors use in creating the song, the money they use, they invest in creating, publishing, distributing, doing videos, among other things. And also the money that the artists or record label sponsors get in return from the six songs they have published. So the financing most times is in two dichotomies. That's the money invested and money received as a result of the investment made by the artist or the record label. So under the contractual agreement, um, percentage and share distribution are discussed as it pertains to various sources of incomes for brand and artists, inclusive in such agreeable terms will be recording costs, marketing campaign, among others. So in the contract, the contract majorly stipulates the amount of percentage and the amount of money that possibly the record label is entitled to and the artist is entitled to avoid issues or to avoid issues that avoid altercation that ensues from unequitable sharing of the funds received from the artist's musical release. So understanding the business and financial aspect of the music industry is essential for the artists and very important for the managers and everybody within the same industry. So move to collective management organization and royalties. So I'll just call them collective management organization, aka CMO. I'll refer to them as treat as CMO. CMO is a collecting society licensed to negotiate and grant copyright license as well as collect royalties on behalf of the copyright owner. So from my understanding of this, CMO like they are having the responsibility of granting copyright license to over particular copyright, and they also help the copyright owner, you understand, to collect royalties that is entitled to by virtue of the license he has made on the song. So for instance, let me say they do license one of the songs possibly to somebody to use for let me say a skit or something else. So from my understanding, I think the CMO are the one that service the responsibility of granting this state license, and also they also help the copyright owner who has licensed his product, who have licensed his creation. You understand? They help him collect his royalties that is entitled to. So royalties constitute what is royalty? Royalty is basically a payment made by the licensee, that the person who is taking the license from the creative. So it's their payments made by the licensee, can be a company or a person, to the licensor in exchange for the right to use his intellectual property. You understand? Owned by him. So if there's one of Burna Boy's song that was played on one very popular American movie. I cannot recall it now. So for that movie to be able to like use that song in that movie, they have to pay like they need a license. You understand? And that license is not for that. It's not for that Christmas gift. You pay for the license. So that payment you're making is what is called the royalties. You understand? Yeah. So moving quickly, the licensee pays mechanical royalty to the copyright owner of the musical composition. So we have different kind of license. Sorry, we have different kind of royalties. The mechanical royalty, like our first Mr. Unique explained. We also have the synchronization royalty, among others. Mr. Unique perfectly explained what all these means. I'll just because of time. So moving down, we talk about the distribution models. So the models of distribution in music business like refer to the manner in which the music industry makes those musical records available to the general public for consumption. You understand? So there are several mediums, there are several models of distributing recorded music. So they include record labels and distribution companies in a very popular way. So record labels are companies that manufacture and distribute and promote recordings of their affiliated artists. So there are several of them, BNL, Chocolate City, Marvel Records, among others. We also have licensing deals. So in this model, the label licenses the recordings from the artist for a fixed period of time. So that's self-explanatory. So we also have self-distribution. So this like is actually a very popular, it's a very in vogue way of that most artists use to distribute their music. So through these digital platforms and online platforms, many artists like they skip the label and distribution company and go independently and distribute their music on these aforementioned online platforms. There are several online platforms, SoundCloud, among others. So the fourth one is aggregators. So um, the fifth one is streaming services, and the sixth one is direct to fan services. So for one of time, I'll just skip to the next item on the slide, which is infringement. So infringement, as the name implies, it's actually
I'm sorry to
um,
interrupt, Philip. Please just try and um, summarize in 4 minutes. Thanks.
a 1 minute.
4 minutes.
Okay, okay, sir. Thank you. So infringement. So um, there are several ways the copyright in music and other intellectual properties are infringed. You understand? And they include, but they're not limited to piracy, counterfeit merchandise, unauthorized sampling, copyright infringement on online platforms, performance rights and royalty collections, among others. But I think one very interesting one that I really don't understand, but I believe our mentors will be able to explain more for us is this copyright infringement on online platforms. So from our research, they said that with the rise of digital platforms, the unauthorized distribution and sharing of copyrighted music online have become prevalent. So they're saying that this is an infringement. So my question is like, so does this mean that if, for instance, I'm a Charlie Poppy's fan and I buy it Elon Musk music, you understand, and obviously he has copyrighted the music, you understand, and I, what's it called? I distribute or I share this is music on my Instagram or my Twitter handle. Does this like amount to improvement? I don't understand. So I think that's the question that our mentors would help us answer. So moving quickly, legal remedies and enforcement mechanisms. There are myriad and there are plethora of rules wherein these copyrights can be protected from infringement. So they include copyright protection. So they include civil lawsuits, the what's it called? The Nigeria Copyright Commission and CMOs, DRU platforms, arbitration, mediation, etc. So the rights enforcement mechanism. So there are several institutions or there are several agencies that champion the responsibility of forestalling infringement on copyrighted works, particularly musical works. So they include but are not limited to the Nigerian Copyright Commission, the anti-piracy companies and public awareness, the anti-piracy unit that was created by the Nigerian Copyright Commission, collaboration with the law enforcement agency like Nigeria Police, etc. But the idea is that these several mechanisms they are focused, they are championed on preventing and forestalling the infringement of people's musical works. So moving quickly, contract. There are several contracts when it comes to the music business. So they include but are not limited to recording contracts. So the recording contract is actually the one that you know very well. That is the agreement between or the contract between the artist and the record label. You understand? Distribution. We also have distribution contracts. It's like an agreement between the artist and the distribution company as regards to the distribution of the song. We also have band contracts, management contract, license contract. I will explain that earlier. So the agreement between the licensee and the licensor in regards to seeking permission for the use of the licensee song. You understand? Among other contracts. So licensing, so I've already discussed about licensing, but in summary, licensing is just like I said, is seeking permission from the owner of a copyright or owner of a song, you understand, to enable you use a song. And a situation when you don't seek this permission, you become vulnerable to legal attacks from the owners' lawyers. So basically, that's all. Um, that's all. So that's the end of my presentation. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you everyone for listening to me. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Philip, for that wonderful presentation on behalf of your group. Thank you very much to all the group members for the great research work and putting up the PowerPoint presentation. I'll leave our mentor to make a few comments as he already did on the presentation while I start asking the question. I'll also be posting the question on the chat box and asking our mentor the question one by one. So
Yeah, thank you.
Mr. Tope, any comments on the
I mean,
on the recently presented?
as far as I'm concerned, I was not going to tell him to summarize in 4 minutes. I was actually going to wait so I can enjoy, learn the presentation. So I wouldn't know the members of the team that did this. Are you guys lawyers already? Or
No,
are you guys
Some are already lawyers and some are still students and some are in the school of
oh,
Akotuba and like that.
oh, okay, that's fine. I mean, uh, I'll give them a kudos for the presentation. I'm not saying it cannot be better, but I think the least we can do is to encourage ourselves and also say when we do researches, we should make sure we are at par with most recent dates. But then I'm impressed. I mean, it was a cool presentation, and I know that by the time you ask me questions, my answers will probably shed more light into what they presented. I'm sorry I'm speaking this way. I'm back to Lagos now, and I'm driving, so that's all. I can speak very well. Like I can speak. I'm on my headset.
Yeah. Okay, thank you very much, sir. So I'm
Yeah,
taking the
you're welcome.
questions
That's fine.
one, but I think some of the
Can I hear you?
anyone hear me? Uh-uh. What's happening?
Hello? Hello?
I can hear you, sir. I think you lost Mr. Hussein.
oh, I'm
Network.
sorry,
Let's
sorry. I was muted. Sorry, I didn't I was just seeing it now. I've been talking and I didn't know I was muted. I'm sorry. So I'm taking the
Okay.
questions, sir.
Very well.
Okay, the first
Very well.
question is what is the Nigerian position with artists when artists try to retain or claim their catalog master to their music? Can they do so, especially when they have a dispute with their record label and they want to leave.
Okay, that's fine. So at the inception of our class today, I made reference to two things. Yeah, one of the major differences between the creatives we have right now in Nigeria and the creatives we probably had in the 20th century was just that some were filled with passion, they chased their passion, they only wanted to work without taking care of the business side. Now, to answer your question, it is so everything is dependent on the kind of contract both parties, must have signed. There are some contracts that would say, "Oh, because I'm the record label." Please, can you all hear me?
Yes, sir, we can hear you
Yeah.
loud and clear.
Thank you so much. There are some contracts that would say, "Oh, because I'm the record label, spending money on you, I own your masters, or I own the masters of the compositions or of the songs you released while in my label." And there are some, depending on the level of the artist, they would say, "Let us co-own," meaning that the label owns 50%, the artist owns 50%. Depending, it might be 70-30, it might be 60-40 as per ownership of masters. And there are some that the label will own masters and say, "You will get back your masters 5 years post expiration or post termination of the contract." So the reversionary right of catalog is subject to the kind of agreement entered into by parties. But to be fair to labels too, to be fair to labels, so a label will pick you up. Yes, you have talent, but the question is, say now everybody will get talent, they blow. A label will pick you up, just you, spend money on you, a risk that their parents will not be able to take. So from that emotional angle, or from that angle, people usually argue that the label should own masters, because there's also the possibility of the label signing someone for 5 years, spending back to back, and the person may not recoup in 5 years. An example would be Johnny Drill. I think our You My Friend came up, blew, 3 months to the expiration of his contract with Maven. Is Mr. Oliver here? Is he here? Is Oliver here?
No, sir. He left the call
Oh, he's
for
gone.
the birthday
Birthday
celebration.
thing. No, Allah.
Yeah.
He will send me address. So the thing is, to answer your question, yeah, it is dependent on the kind of agreement entered into by parties. And very soon, some of us will be approaching the court for an order that the total rights of our clients, be it artist, be it label, be given to the label, or be given to the artist based on XYZ principle, or based on the kind of contract entered into by parties. So one thing about the creative industry is that, please, I would advise, don't limit your scope to Nigerian copyright. Please, don't limit your scope to any law made in Africa. Don't limit your scope to any African operations. Yes, Africa is our home, but trust me, you also need to make money. you need to play the international league. You guys have probably noticed that when Olivia was there, I was telling him, guy, they owe me money. I mean, that's the way we joke. That's the way everything works. So from my own end, the contract, the nature of the contract, the agreement between parties, most especially the express agreement between parties is very important. And that is what would come or become operational the moment that period of catalog or no catalog comes in. So I don't know if I've been able to answer the question or I have not been able to answer.
Yes, sir.
I'm here
Yes,
to
sir,
learn.
you've done
I'm a
justice to the
small boy.
question. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. So what's the
Thank you
next
very
one?
much, sir. Let me take the second question.
Okay.
Can you explain the process and requirements for copyright registration in Nigeria? How do copyright registration impact the rights and legal standing of music creators?
I got the first part. That is the procedure when you want to copyright something. Yeah. What's the second leg of that question? Hello. Hello. Can you hear me? I cannot hear you.
I think I've lost him. But the second leg of the question is how does copyright registration impact the rights and legal standing of music creators?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, sorry. Lagos and third mainland. Yeah, so I'm off it. So what's the second leg of the question so I can answer it comprehensively?
Yeah. So the second leg of the question is how does
I cannot hear you well, bro.
Can you hear me now?
Bro, I cannot hear you well. Are you using a
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, but faintly. I can hear you.
Okay, so yeah, I think the second reading of the question is how does copyright registration impact the rights and legal standing of music creators?
How does it affect the right of artists?
Yeah, how does
copyright registration impact the rights and legal standing of music creators?
Oh, okay, that's fine. So I'm just going to give you the procedure of copywriting works because most of the steps, are synonymous, except for countries that are way advanced, than us in technology. So the first thing is you must have a copyrightable material, or you must have a copyrightable object. Once you have it, because it is presumed that it is your own, there are certain copies you need to, of course, you need to apply, and there are certain copies you need to print out. Payment, needs to be made, and upon certain period of time, prescribed time for trademark now, I think it's 3 weeks. Then you can probably get the main certificate within, let's say, between five months to like 9 months, depending on how fast they are. For copyright, once the prescribed fee, has been paid, once it is the work is yours, you file in with other documents. Then once it's ready, it's ready. I mean, it's not a big deal. It's just a normal procedure. So this procedure now, it is the internationally accepted procedure. Most countries picked little from the international ways of registering because that's the simplest. But you don't need to stress yourself anyways, depending on how kind of structured your business. We have people at various units. All we do most times is just to offload all the required documents to them with the prescribed fee. And of course, you also need to motivate them. Gaskia. The reason I'm saying this is that not only must you be a street lawyer, you must also be a business lawyer who is conscious of time. Of time, they say, is money. Then, bringing the need for copyright vis-a-vis the rights and progress of, or status of a creator. Just as you know it, there's a particular rule that works. And who can tell me the rule? Who can tell me the name of the principle? Like when you have not registered and someone has kind of infringed, on your copyright. What's the name of that principle? Hello? It's going, It's going, 5 seconds more. So there's the principle of the fourth creator, yeah? If you have an evidence.
Fourth creator?
Fourth creator. Like, so you and I, we have a particular dispute. And I'm saying, oh, Nami first do the work. The other person is saying, no, you don't have any document to show that you did the work first. Now, let's say for music now, data are usually sent. Masters are usually sent. All these things, they have dates that with recent technology, you cannot bypass the date. So once you can show that, oh, I did this thing before Mr. Ajanaku, then there is a presumption that the copyright of the work belongs to you. You don't need to even copyright sometimes, yeah? To actually claim copyrights. I'm sure we all know it.
Yeah.
Because the secret is that I'm currently doing a research work, yeah? And I can tell you that 96.5 of all the music released by Nigerians in Nigeria are actually not copyrighted. But still, then still no burn you will make you use, their materials. So I think that's it. I don't know if I've answered the other question.
Yeah.
But definitely, generally, copyright, I would advise the government to make it, flexible, just like CAC. Though I know that CAC, they still have their own madness though. But these things are not as difficult as they should. But if the website is not connecting very well to Remita, your village people can start with network palaver. If they don't start with network palaver, something will happen. We hope to get there one day, and we hope to have leaders. We hope to have government officials that value the creative industry. If you don't value the creative industry, it's no cost. You won't take it serious. If only the government, or if only government can see what we have in the creative industry, maybe that is when they will know that the creative industry is actually the newest, crude oil. What stops our creatives? What stops Burna Boy from having a tour in Nigeria?
Can anyone hear him?
I cannot hear him. I think we are lost now. Mr. Wilson, are you on the call?
Is currently on mute, actually.
Hey. Oh. So I think
I didn't know. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can
yes,
hear you,
sir.
sir.
Please, what was the last thing you said? And you had. What was the last thing you had, please?
You were regarding the flexibility of the copywriters compared to CAC, then your village people.
Oh, wow. I don't talk now. Okay. So, I mean, I was only trying to say, hopefully, we would have a government that appreciates the creative industry, government that would know that the creative industry is actually the newest crude oil in the world. And maybe by then, they will put things, they will put things in structure. What stops our Burna Boy or a Whiskey or a Davido from having Nigerian tour? Nothing stops them. But the government, because they don't understand the game, because they don't understand the system, they will come with a very exorbitant tax rates. That you people, you did this, you did that, and of course, security challenges as well. And so I said, I'm currently working on a project that will be out in the next between 3 to 5 months, and I'm saying that I'll make it. It's going to be sold, but I'm going to make it free for everyone here. So there is a contact person from your organization. I can't remember his or her name, but I think the name starts with an A. The person can always get in touch with me. So once I'm done with it, I can make the soft copy available for you guys to at least tap from my little knowledge. So I'm the thing where I talk with that.
Okay,
so
sir. Can you hear me?
Very well.
Considering the time frame, we have 6 more questions to go.
That's
so
fine.
I don't know.
So I'll be fast.
Okay, I will read the third question. I'll read the third question now. Can I?
Very well,
what are the key considerations for artists when negotiating music licensing agreements with record labels, streaming platforms, or other music industry entities? What rights should artists strive to retain or negotiate for this agreement?
Well, the first right would be, so let's say if you are negotiating with a label, make sure you have your creative control. Creative control is very important. And make sure that you commit the label with time frame. Make sure that you commit the label with time frame. Also, aside from your creative control, if you have a good lawyer that can you hear me?
Yeah, we can, yeah.
Yeah. If you have a good lawyer that can negotiate your masters for you, fantastic. But you as a creative, not even a creative, you as human, please learn to place a reasonable value on yourself. If you don't place a value on yourself, trust me, nobody will place a value on you. You've made it so easy for them. Remember what we call this industry? We usually say showbiz. The reason they call it showbiz is you need to show force, you need to buga. Then after buga, after the person we want to engage, you don't see you will not do business. So that's why they call it showbiz. Showbiz. So
okay, thank you.
So for licensing, yeah, you also need to consider. So you need to consider the platform. If a movie as big as Black Panther is coming to me to say, oh, we want to make use of it's coming to me to say, oh, we want to make use of your song. We just want to make use of 20 seconds in it. We don't have money, but we want you to help us. Or even if the money, don't pay for, or even if the money isn't cool, yeah? For God's sake, this is Black Panther we are talking about. This is Black Panther we are talking about. Do you have an idea of millions of eyes that will watch it? Do you have an idea of millions of people that will Shazam it? Do you also have an idea of how that thing would help me as a creative, publishing wise? Sometimes it might not really be about the money. Sometimes it can also be about the opportunity. Trust me, it can also be about the opportunity. So you need to watch out for so many things when you're negotiating a licensing deal. The first one is the opportunity. Very important.
Okay.
The second one will be the credibility of the licensing company you're dealing with. And another thing will be the structure of the licensing company you're dealing with. If you are dealing with a licensing company that has no structure, trust me, you will run into problems. And of course, another thing is make sure you give it to an entertainment lawyer. That's the problem we're having right now in Nigeria. Some guys will come up to say, oh, I'm an entertainment lawyer. How can you be an entertainment lawyer because you love listening to the video, or because you can sing in church, or because you can play an instrument, or because you DJ? No, I'm serious. I mean, it's crazy. I had a transaction. I was representing a major creative, a major artist in Africa. I think 4 years ago, or maybe 4 years ago, or 5 years ago. Guess what? The label guy brought a lawyer. The lawyer was working at GTB. And me, I did street. I get my love. Working at GTB. Yeah. I'm an entertainment lawyer. Oh, I DJ, I do this, I do that. At the end of the day, bro, man, I was able to negotiate the masters of my client too. Because I knew I don't sabi that this one don't know as things they work. And I was just thinking that maybe he's just trying to impress his client. At the end of the day, during the existence of the contract, I was able to negotiate 50-50 ownership of copyright of all songs done. Guess what? After I know you people will see it in the news very soon. Because we're actually going to court. You people will see it very soon. Now, I was not able to negotiate that, at the end of the contract, whether the contract gets terminated or whether the contract, the 50% master's right in all songs made during the. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah,
Yes, sir, we can hear you clearly.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. The 50% of master's rights will now return back to my client, meaning that anytime they wake up and say they're not doing it again, my client will now retain his own, the total master's right of 100%. So we all need to be very careful. I don't know if we also have creatives around us, but please do your research very well, because if somebody working in a bank or somebody working in a real estate firm comes to you to say, oh, my bro, I see your sweat, I know say make I represent you free at least even before money starts coming in. Okay, if you don't agree for that one, Yoruba people will say, Otilano niyan. You don't catch fire. And a mistake can mess up your career if care is not taken.
True.
Except God specially loves you to give you second chance or to give you a third chance. God gave somebody a second chance and he wasted it. Don't Almighty. He wasted it.
Okay, so okay. I will be picking just two more questions from what you have here. Okay, I will go to question number 4. Okay, how does the concept of fair use apply to the Nigerian music industry? The concept of fair use.
I mean,
what are the limitations?
Yeah, so the limitation, that means where fair use would not survive is particularly when there is an economic gain. When we say fair use, that means that we are not gaining anything from it. So we want to use this thing to empower people or something CSR in nature. The moment you are making money from that thing, forget that I signed this thing. I'm coming back to you to come and collect my share, and there's nothing you will do. The worst you can do is to stop talking to me, and God will not stop talking to me. Yeah. So I think that's it about fair use. It's a very technical term, and you need to be very, very careful. So once you know the surrounding principle, the main principle, it becomes easy for you. I think I've answered.
Okay. Yes. Okay. For number 7, how does intellectual property law protect music in live performances?
So that is why we have the collecting society. That is why we have, and when I'm saying collecting society, I'm not talking of anyone in Africa. All of them, them be mumu. But then there are always reciprocal, laws and stuff like that. So to further guide and guard, the creative, that's why we have collecting society, and of course that's why we have selected publishers. So I think that's it. And all these things are obviously in various laws governing, intellectual property.
Okay.
All right, sir. Thank you very much for everything. Thank you for your insightful teaching and for the answers to the question. So we'll be rounding up the meeting for today. Unfortunately, Mr. Hussein is finding difficulty logging back, so he asked us to close the session for today. So thank you once more, sir, to all our mentors, and thank you all our mentees who made time to attend today's session. Have a good night rest.
Very well.
Good night, everyone.
Can we get a sample of any of your contracts, your musical contracts? Perhaps you can edit the key information and just
So do me an email. Shoot me an email.
So is that drop your email? How can we get an email?
Shoot me an email. Can you hear me? Shoot me an email. List everything you need. Shoot me an email. List everything you need.
So can we have your email, please?
I think Temitope Salami is 01.
Okay, Temitope Salami.
Temitope Salami is 01 at gmail.com.
Okay then.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much.
No one has got that. No one. Cheers, guys.
All right. Good night. Good night, everyone.
Yeah, good night. Yeah. Bye. All the best.